Hello guys and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm gonna show you the modifications that I made on my KTM 1290 Super Adventure S to make it ready for an off-road adventure. The modifications that I made are also possible on other bikes, so don't run away if you have another motorcycle. When riding off-road you're standing upright and you need more grip on the foot pegs, especially when there's some mud on your boots. So the first thing I did is removing the foot peg rubbers. Now the teeth on the foot pegs will give a maximum of grip on my boots. I also installed the Tour Attack side stand base extension. This makes the side stand ground contact surface larger to give better stability on soft ground and prevent the side stand from sinking into the ground. When riding off-road there are a lot of stones jumping around, so I installed KTM radiator protectors to prevent the radiators from being perforated by a stone. I also installed a KTM headlight protection. Riding off-road brings a realistic chance of dropping the bike, so I installed protection bars on my motorcycle. This is a more expensive modification but really necessary if you want to protect your bike. These are heat crash bars. This KTM motorcycle already comes with a skid plate, and even though there are metal versions on the market, I just kept this original plastic skid plate. For better traction I installed off-road tires. I installed the Shinko E804 front tire and E805 rear tire. And that brings us to the wheels. I've changed the original wheels to spoked off-road wheels, because spokes can bend and flex and won't break when riding off-road. This was my most expensive modification, but better that than breaking my original rim on an off-road track. I've kept my original windscreen and I place it in the lowest position when riding off-road. The hand protectors are originally on this motorcycle, so I didn't change them either. To make it more ergonomic when standing upright, I've slightly adjusted my clutch handle and front brake handle. I've also slightly adjusted the steer position to feel more comfortable when standing. I've kept my original mirrors, but I've changed their position so I can use the left mirror when sitting and the right mirror when standing upright. For my off-road adventure, I want to take some luggage and camping gear. To carry my luggage, I use the moto bags from Lone Rider, made for adventure, water and dust proof. See my rigid, so it's flexible when falling or hitting something. 38 liters capacity on the left bag and 32 liters on the right bag. I've also installed two Lone Rider mini bags on my crash bars. They have a 6-liter capacity each and are made of the same material as the moto bags and also waterproof. Beside extra luggage space, they're also functional as extra protection of my motorcycle. When dropping the motorcycle, the crash bars with mini bags and the moto bags are the first contact with the ground. And maybe me. So they prevent the bike from scratches and other damage. They also keep the bike from lying completely flat, especially when losing balance when riding in a deeper trench, and that makes it more easier to lift the motorcycle, and there's less chance that my leg got stuck under the motorcycle. Now the next part is about suspension settings and ride modes. If you don't ride a KTM 1290 Super Adventure S, you can always skip to the next part about the navigation I use. On the KTM 1290 Super Adventure S, you have the ability to change suspension settings and riding modes. So let's take a look in the menus and how I set it up for off-road riding. Okay, I first go to the suspension menu. There are a lot of settings to play around with, and it's more a personal thing how you make your setup, depending on factors like your weight and riding style. So this is something you have to test and find out. This bike has the optional tech pack installed. So I can change the suspension mode to advanced, automatic, sport, street, comfort and off-road mode. So I use off-road mode. This uses softer dampings for riding on off-road tracks. The next setting is the preload adjuster. You can choose the automatic settings standard, low or high, or set it manually from 0 to 100%. I prefer a higher preload to have more weight on the front. I also changed my seat height to lowest position to compensate the higher stance of the bike. You just have to find out what's best for you, depending on your weight and the luggage you carry. There's also the anti-dive function that comes with the tech pack. When on, the front damping is adjusted to reduce the diving of the front forks when using the front brake. I just let it on all the time. When you change the suspension mode to advanced, you have the same settings as before, but with 2 extra menus. You can change the front dampings manually in 8 settings from softest to hardest. In the shock menu, you can do the same for the rear shock absorber. You can set it manually from softest to hardest in 8 settings. I simply used the off-road suspension mode and played around with the preload adjuster settings. We also have the motorcycle ride mode menu. This is all about the throttle response, ABS mode and traction control. Here you can choose between street, sport, rain and the optional off-road and rally modes. When I put the ride mode in off-road mode, the ABS is also in off-road mode and is only working on the front wheel, and it will react later than in ABS road mode. You can change the settings to road, but that will activate the ABS on the rear wheel, and for off-road riding that's not interesting, so I put it back in off-road. Next is the MTC setting, the motor traction control. This is on, and in off-road mode the MTC allows a higher rear wheel slip than for example in street mode. You can also turn it off and the MTC will not respond when the rear wheel breaks out. I put it back on. When I change the ride mode to the optional rally mode, you can see that we have the same menus and also 2 extra menus. In rally mode you can change the throttle response between off-road, which has a soft throttle response, street for a more balanced throttle response, sport for a very direct throttle response, and rally, which has an extremely direct throttle response. I just put the throttle response back in off-road. We also have the slip adjuster menu. Here you can choose how much slip the MTC allows on the rear wheel. So for this function, the MTC has to be on. You can choose from level 9, which allows the least amount of slip, to level 1, which allows the most amount of slip. When the ride mode is rally mode, you also have another layout on the display. Here you can see the normal layout on the left and the rally mode layout on the right. The big number 5 is the level of the slip adjuster. To change it easily while riding, you can use the plus and the min buttons on your left hand that are normally in use for the cruise control settings. By using them, you can easily change the level of the slip adjuster. Okay, I put the ride mode back in off-road mode. Another feature I use is the custom switch on the right hand side. I use the custom switch 1 for the heated grips and the custom switch 2 for a quick access to the ride mode menu. You can choose for the custom switch function between grips, MTC, ABS mode, ride mode and no function. And here I missed the suspension function. It would be very practical when there was a quick access to the suspension menu. To navigate, I use the Garmin Zumo XT motorcycle GPS. And this GPS is made for adventure, has a bright screen and also has topographic maps for off-road tracks. On the main screen there's the track button to record your own track. It also has a quick link to the saved tracks. And let's see here, a track from the Trans-Euro Trail France, section 19. So you can easily open it and start following the track. Okay, I go back to the main screen. There are also a lot of apps on the Zumo XT. And to get all out of it, you have to connect to the Garmin Drive app on your smartphone. There's also the Bird's Eye Direct app. With this app you can download satellite images and view them on your map. When I select a place near this lake on the map, I can download the highlighted area, give it a name and start the download. And now I have the satellite image of this location. With this function, you can zoom and discover this area. So, let's go back to the main screen. When I go to the map, you can see the downloaded satellite image on your map. When I zoom in to discover my map, I can also go to this layer button and turn off the bird's eye function. Now only the topographic map is selected. Let's save this and now I can explore the topographic map. When you search a location and select it, instead of selecting Go to use the normal navigation, you can select the Garmin Adventurous Routing. Then you get a more adventurous route with more challenging roads, and with the slider you can change it from less to more adventurous. You can also view the elevation graph, which gave you an indication of the upcoming ascents and descents of the track. So, those are the modifications and upgrades that I did to make my motorcycle off-road ready. In my next video, I'm gonna show you the complete luggage setup that I used to make a 6-day during motorcycle camping adventure. So make sure you subscribe my channel, and I hope I see you back.